Alien world of Myr is being devoured by dark water. Only Ren, a young prince, can stop it by finding the lost 13 treasures of rule. At his side is an unlikely but loyal crew of misfits. At his back, the evil pirate lord Bloth, who will stop at nothing to get the treasures for himself. It's high adventure with the Pirates of Dark Water.
The Pirates of Dark Water was a much beloved cartoon which ran from 1991 to 1992. There were only ever 21 episodes, 2 8-episode seasons and a 5-episode miniseries, but it left a very strong impression on many young minds of the time. Dark Water and its world of Myr were created by David Kirshner, who worked alongside Don Bluth on Titan AE and An American Tale, and also, perhaps more weirdly, worked on the Child's Play horror film franchise. While the world of Myr has a series bible, as many series do, it's not as complete as that for, say, The Masters of the Universe, which you can find a video on elsewhere on my channel. However, the background and setting of Myr was further expanded upon in a role-playing game by Mind Games in 1994, 2 years after the series had died without resolving its story. The RPG was written by Lee Agosta, whose only other easily findable credit was on the Things creature book for Mayfair Games' horror RPG, Chill, and Roll Aids People, Places and Things. For their part, Mind Games don't seem to have produced much of anything else other than the RPG book, which isn't a fully featured RPG book, but a loosely D&D compatible mishmash, predating the old-school revival D&D movement by over a decade. The game came with a 64-page world book, 105 hole-punch creature sheets, a map, and deck plans for the main antagonist's ship. The series Bible clocks in at around 50 pages. Precisely how much of the RPG was created in consultation with Kirshner is unclear, but the starting point is that 50-page setting Bible. Dark Water is the adventure of a young hero named Ren, preordained to lead a noble quest that will eventually save his dying world. The companions who become Ren's circle, the challenges he faces, the temptations he overcomes, and his gradual evolution into a legendary figure were all intentions of the series, though it never reached its climax or conclusion. The story began upon the kingdom of Octopon, one of many islands on the water planet of Myr, a crystal island which was slowly dying. The hero, Ren, is a seeming orphan, bequeathed as a child to be raised by a lighthouse keeper. At the start of the story, Ren is 17 years old and knows nothing of his past. One night, Ren, born to be a hero, risks his life to save a drowning man from a storm. His plunging into the sea to perform this rescue was symbolically intended to be a baptism into his role as a hero. The drowning man was Primus, the lost king of Octopon and Ren's father. He cannot be saved and dies, but he charges his son Ren with uniting the fabled 13 treasures of rule, which combined can save Myr from the environmental catastrophe which is ravaging it. From the beginning of time on the watery world of Myr, the 13 treasures of rule have sealed the heart of their living planet. Embedded in a reef far below the sea, beneath the kingdom of Octopon, the mystic stones have emanated a collective power, nourishing the entire planet with a harmonious life force. Then, one day, years ago, The mystical stones were pried loose by a violent and unknown power. They were scattered far and wide in a furious storm of upheaval, and from that day forward, the planet was doomed to a course of slow degeneration. The crippling of the world, which at first appeared only spiritual and emotional upon the people of Mer, soon took a living form in a substance that became known as dark water. This black substance, possessed of intent and hunger, oozed slowly and perversely from the fissure where the 13 treasures once lay. In the early years there were wild tales of a capricious, driving shape that moved across the watery planet, devouring anything unlucky enough to land in its path. Then, slowly, there were more and more sightings of the dark water, always moving, consuming, and leaving nothing but loss and despair in its powerful wake. The vastness of all that is evil had taken a form, become tangible. It was dark water. King Primus saw what was happening to his world. He left his infant son Ren in the safe and anonymous care of a lighthouse keeper, where he would not be found. Then he set out with his royal fleet on a quest for the scattered treasures of rule, which alone had the power to restore his kingdom. One day, word returned to Octopon that Primus had located 7 of the 13 treasures, and was attacked by pirates under the direction of a grotesque giant named Bloth. Whatever hope the treasures held for Primus and Octopon, the pirate lord saw them only as a chance to master the evil power of dark water, and to use this control to extort and rule the entire planet. Under siege, Primus dispersed the 7 found treasures amongst his most trusted captains. A mystical compass which had pointed the way to their whereabouts was committed to Primus' spiritual attendant, a monk from the Abbey of the Gallows. These 7 custodians of Mer's future then fled in opposite directions to hide the treasures from Bloth. King Primus was captured and held prisoner on Bloth's monstrous ship, the Melstrom. Now, 17 years later, he escapes, and before dying passes the quest for the 13 treasures of rule on to his son Ren. In the glow of a fire, the lighthouse keeper unwraps a strange half-sword and bequeaths it to Ren. The sword belonged to his father, and the lighthouse keeper was instructed by King Primus to give it to Ren if he should fail in his quest for the 13 treasures. Ren will not learn the truth about this strange weapon until he has fulfilled his destiny by locating the 7 treasures scattered by Primus' royal captains, and continues the search for the remaining 6. All hope for the declining planet now lies with one 17-year-old boy, armed with only a broken half-sword and the pure strength of his innocence and innate heroism. Ren's adventure begins immediately. Bloth saw him rescue the escaped prisoner Primus and sends a winged monkey, Niddler, to capture him. Kidnapped from his home on the lighthouse, Ren is deposited upon the Melstrom, an enormous, cavernous vessel carved from the corpses of leviathans, the largest sea creatures on Mer. On this vessel, he first meets the giant pirate Bloth, and their antagonism to one another is established. Ren will be seeking to reunite the treasures to liberate Mer. Bloth will be doing so to dominate it. On discovering this, Bloth means to kill Ren, but the mistreated flying monkey Niddler takes this opportunity to turn upon Bloth and to aid Ren. Escaping with Niddler's help, Ren's first stop is to seek out Alamar, his father's spiritual guide and keeper of the compass, which will point the way to all the other treasures. This compass is the most important component of his quest. He visits the Abbey of the Gallows and learns the first lesson of his journey. Things are often not what they appear. Alamar turns out to be a gigantic reptilian creature, not at all the mystical priest-like image Ren had anticipated. Having acquired the compass, Ren and Niddler next search for a ship to take them on their quest. At a seaside tavern they befriend a mercenary fortune hunter, Ios, who promises to find them a boat for a cut of the treasure that they seek. Ios then proceeds to steal the fastest vessel in the harbour, and soon the new crew are being chased out to sea. Ren has his doubts about Ios, but the man is fearless and has taken a liking to Ren, so long as the treasure keeps flowing. Tula, a beautiful and strong-willed girl from the tavern, overhears their plans and hides aboard the stolen ship, the Wraith. As an ecomancer with strong knowledge of the sea, she is a powerful asset, magical, but also has her own secrets and agendas. The mystical compass Ren now wears about his neck emanates an ethereal blue light, which may show them the way, but whoever gains the treasures first, our heroes or Bloth's band of cutthroats, the possessor will embrace the power to chart his own destiny and set the course of the watery planet for ages to come. Throughout the course of the series, treasures are found and lost, secrets revealed, strange places explored, and the world rounded out and expanded, though sadly the story never reaches its conclusion, which likely would have taken at least another 2 seasons. Though neither trained as a fighter nor as a leader, Ren's adolescent strength and natural intuitions see him through, even when his youthful judgments might be a little off the mark. Like any 17-year-old, he often has difficulty seeing the bigger picture. In time, he matures from the challenges that he faces and the friends that he makes on his quest. But for now, Ren's naivety and exuberance add to his charisma and charm, which, along with a steadfast honesty and unyielding integrity, soon win him loyalty from his disparate crew. However, Ren treats Tula, the female member of his crew, much differently. She is as agile and able a seafarer as there is on the ocean, and Ren respects her abilities and prowess. But their friendship also carries romantic undertones, which at 17 Ren is just coming to grips with. At one moment he'll treat her like any other rough and tumble salt, then suddenly, without any understanding of what he's feeling, will turn around and speak to her, telling her things he'd never share with any other living soul. That dichotomy of feeling around Tula causes Ren to look at his relationship with this dark-haired beauty with much more scrutiny than he does his others. Ren has a big brother, little brother relationship with Ios. He looks up to him for his worldliness, but also stands up for himself when a situation goes contrary to what he feels in his heart. More cunning than Ios, Ren uses his wiles to avoid confrontational situations with the rugged brawler. Tula is an exotic adventuress who finds her destiny in the elemental arts of ecomancy. She is a 17-year-old tavern wench who overhears Ren's talking of setting out in search of the 13 treasures of rule. When she turns up as a stowaway on the stolen ship, the Wraith, she quickly establishes herself as an asset to the group. While Tula, as a warrior, can hold her own against any man, she also has a deep, nurturing sensitivity towards the environment of her living planet, a sensitivity which, early in the series, develops into the elemental powers of an ecomancer, one who can become one with the elements and manipulate them through intense concentration. Visually, this power is manifested in a St. Elmo's fire that bathes her body, and which can be directed for the desired effect. However, she is not all-powerful. She can't just point a finger and manipulate things from afar. She either needs to be in contact with what she wishes to manipulate, or there must be some synaptic connection to the object through which her power can travel, like the branches or roots of trees. As an ecomancer, Tula has an uncanny affinity for animals. Through sheer concentration, she can tame the wildest beast. She can even get a dagger on to do her bidding. But these achievements take great concentration, and the stress of such an effort can leave her weak and vulnerable. Ios is a fortune hunter, swayed by Ren's noble quest. He is a mercenary with dubious integrity who will do almost anything for a handful of gold. He is a rugged adventurer who has been in more battles and street brawls than he can remember. For a time, Ioz was a member of Bloth's nasty crew of cutthroat pirates, but he was too independent to remain. Looking for profit, Ioz teams up with Ren, who he believes is a naive boy searching for some lost treasure. Learning that Ren is actually on a quest for the fabled 13 treasures of rule, Ioz becomes furious, but is won over by Ren's integrity and goodness. In fact, he becomes something of a mentor to the boy, instructing him in the ways of a swashbuckler. Ioz, above all things, is an expert seafarer, and could probably pilot a ship blindfolded just by the feel of the ocean. Having lived the checkered life of a pirate, Ioz probably has an enemy in every port, as well as a woman. Sometimes they're one and the same. Fortunately, he also has many friends, like Zuli, who would not hesitate to aid Ioz when the chips were down. This comical Merian creature is a cross between a spider monkey and a parrot. Though cowardly, Niddler comes through in a pinch and provides comic relief. Niddler is forever preoccupied with creature comforts, from bedding, food and shelter to just staying out of the sun or rain. He is the child of the group, with childlike impulses. He involves himself in treasure hunting most reluctantly, but point the way to a bag of mangoes, and this simpering simian will brave lava pits and ice sharks to fill his rumbling belly. Niddler mixes normal-sounding speech with animal-sounding grunts and growls. He has a knack for being able to speak bastardized versions of the many Merian dialects that our heroes encounter, often to comically incorrect results. This cold-blooded high-seas marauder sails in search of the 13 treasures of rule. He kidnapped Primus and held him aboard the Melstrom, trying to get information as to the whereabouts of the treasures. When Primus escaped and passed the mantle of the quest over to his long-lost son Ren, Bloth went after the youth with a vengeance. He is quick to fly into a rage, and has been known to throw members of his own crew into the pit of the horror beast, the Constrictus, which he keeps in the massive hold of his ship, big enough to house other, smaller ships or captured vessels. Bloth is a fearsome fighter who, despite his huge size, has great agility and speed. He can also play the diplomat when it suits his needs. A cunning manipulator, Bloth is able to draw on his wealth of historical information about Merian legend and lore, and to use it to turn any situation to his own good. He has a photographic memory, especially about anyone who has ever crossed him in any way. Bloth's Achilles' heel is that he fancies himself a cut above the scum who sail with him in his ship. In truth, he's only another hardened salt, but he's forever looking for ways to align himself with a better class of Merian. Ren is able to use this against Bloth, tricking him into situations where the corpulent pirate can be strung up by his own bloated ego. Mantis is Bloth's loyal and deadly second-in-command. His cool and calculating personality makes him the perfect battle strategist for Bloth's fleet. In contrast to his commander's devastating emotional swings, he is always cool-headed and emotionless in battle, as well as in life. He is a schemer who revels in elaborate and creative maneuvers to snare Ren and the crew of the Wraith. Tall, with a thin, reedy frame, Mantis gives the impression that he's a fragile creature. Nothing could be further from the truth. Though his limbs and extremities, hands and feet, are unusually long, he has the strength and bearing of a praying mantis. His insectoid visage is amplified by his large, steely blue eyes and a wide lower jaw with protruding tusk-like teeth. Like a praying mantis, he has an unbelievable leap range. He can spring from a standing position almost 20 yards to pounce on an enemy, or a pile of booty. Mantis is a gambler, and is always making bets with the crewmen of the Melstrom, bets that he usually wins, even if he does so in an underhanded way. Distrusting even his closest friends, Mantis has his gold carried by an alien slave who stays with him at all times. Pity the poor soul that touches his gold. Though he is only second in command, Mantis considers himself smarter than Bloth. However, he would never let on to this fact in front of the bloodthirsty pirate. The only place he ever voices this is late at night, in his quarters. There he records his strategic victories of the day, reciting them to his pet Memorat. This colourful alien creature resembles a parrot with fangs and with a dragon's hindquarters. It is trained as a recording device for Mantis's log. It can remember everything it has ever been told, and has the ability to parrot it back when the proper code word is given. If Bloth were to hear the vile thoughts Mantis has stored in the Memorat's memory, he'd keelhaul his second in command and feed him to the constrictors. Conch is Bloth's pompous grunt and whipping post. This cleaver-wielding peg leg serves as Bloth's grunt and doer of all his dirty work. If there's a suicide mission to be undertaken, the pirate commander will unfailingly tap Conch for the job, though he survives. Even though Conch has proven he will stoop to the lowest depths possible to please his commander, this pontificating pork belly does grate on you and Bloth, and Bloth's not above booting the foul-mouthed braggart down into the constrictor's hold on a regular basis, just to keep his kicking boot in practice. Conch loves to brag about his deeds, often blowing them hilariously out of proportion. However, despite all his bold statements, Conch is a coward at heart and would sell his mother to weasel out of the slightest danger. Conch looks like a bulldog with a peg leg. A short alien, he has an oversized belly that makes him walk with a comical waddle, which he insists is a swagger. His head is unusually large, perpetually empty, and his face is frozen in a permanent scowl. You'd be scowling too if you had to go through what he goes through. Conch has the IQ of warm lunch meat, and is usually the first target when Ren and company set out for some close dealings with Bloth's band of pirates. Jote, whose name may be slang for Jack of all trades, is the ex-owner of the Wraith, out to get Ren and Ios. Jote is a fierce pirate, and once the proud owner of the Wraith, the mighty sea vessel stolen by Ios, who used it to take advantage of Ren. Jote now pursues our heroes, bent on getting his ship back at any cost. He always shows up at the worst time for our heroes, snarling and challenging them for ownership of the Wraith. Jote used to be a swordsman, until he lost his hand in a fight. Losing the extremity made him bitter, so he had it replaced with a wicked metal crab claw, which he uses mercilessly in battle. Zuli is a friend to Ios and another former Bloth pirate. Zuli is a fun-loving mountain of a man who doesn't let his good nature keep him from enjoying a good fight. A former crew member on Bloth's ship, Zuli befriended Ios when he too sailed with the bloated pirate. Zuli now runs a tavern and gaming house in Jundertown, home of myriad thieves, scoundrels and cheats. Master of the sword, Zuli has been known to take on 6 men at once. He even fought Mantis over a single piece of gold, a piece that he had won by cheating the cheat. With an ability to show up at just the right time, bringing along the strangest assortment of exotic weapons confiscated from the customers at his gaming house, Zuli saves our heroes on numerous occasions. Though Ren offers him a place on the crew, Zuli declines and returns to his tavern, where he awaits his own next adventure. The ships of the series are characters unto themselves. The Melstrom is Bloth's massive and deadly warship. This colossal vessel is the latest in myriad destructive eco-technology. It is built from the bleached carcasses of leviathans and resembles a gargantuan floating fossil. The masts are visible as the giant creature's vertebrae. Massive rib cages serve as jail pens and holding cells below the immense deck. Its enormous size is a tribute to Bloth's bloated ego and is its one drawback. Beneath the main deck sits a labyrinth of passageways, sewer lines, holding cells and slaves' quarters. An entire subculture exists within the bowels of this floating city. A small armada can be released for ship-to-shore activity and for negotiating waterways where the Maelstrom would never fit. Like a modern aircraft carrier, the Maelstrom is equipped with air power in the form of dagrons, pterodactyl-like reptile beasts semi-trained to carry a rider. These one-seater beasts have been trained to take pirates aloft on raiding missions, but are erratic vehicles at best, sometimes eating their own riders in mid-flight. In the centre of this death vessel dwells the dreaded Constrictus. This massive water beast sports 4 tentacle-like heads, each with a set of savage jaws. Being eaten by the Constrictus would be compared to jumping into a meat grinder. This beast is in the heart of the ship, and is its deadly core. The Wraith is the stolen vessel Ren sails on his quest. This vessel is a mix of 14th century technology and that of the ecologically based Merian maritime civilization. It is the swiftest craft on the seas, and the ship features a dynamic wing-like mainsail that can be detached and used as a 4-man hang glider, or, in a pinch, will allow the ship to sail over waterfalls and land safely in the water. The Wraith is cut from mystical trees from a remote island. The lumber used in its creation maintains its life force. At times it may seem to be haunted, at other times it may seem to have a mind of its own, and until Ren and the crew decipher the mysterious carvings in the Wraith's decking, they are often at the mercy of the boat's capricious spirit. Dark Water is filled with elements of classic myth that give it a universal appeal. The motif of the hero's journey out of a known environment to undertake a task that will lead to the source of life has been an elemental part of storytelling for centuries. However, the ingredients that allow Dark Water to soar beyond the realm of the conventional tale of the hero's quest are humour and creativity. Mer is an alien world, an environment unlike any we've ever seen. Everything at every turn must surprise and amaze, yet seem so natural to the environment of this water world. The planet is in a constant state of flux, being created and recreated before our eyes. There is an unnaturally natural order to all things on Mer, from people and their technology, all the way to the shifting planet itself. A simple example of this unnaturally natural order of things is the weaponry on Mer. There are no gunpowder-based firearms on this alien world. Along with the standard swords, knives and clubs, weapons have been designed to take advantage of the world's peculiar ocean life. Poisonous sea urchins are hurled with deadly accuracy from powerful slingshots. Alien starfish become ninja-like shuriken. Blown glass-like muskets visibly contain seawater and octopus-like creatures that whip their tentacles out when given a chance and disarm an assailant. Small hand weapons contain sea life that emit poisonous knockout gas, and there are even water pistols, after a fashion, that squirt dark water. These are only a few examples of the recognizable, reinvented to accessorize a fascinating world. The planet of Mer is 98% water. The oceans are vast and all different, and all in a constant state of flux. When the Wraith sails into a living waterway known as the Dragon's Maw, massive stalactites grow up around their ship. These giant daggers threaten to destroy any vessel passing through the constantly changing canal that rests above a pair of mile-high waterfalls. In the salt dunes of Lure, inhabitants have evolved whose bodies contain no water. They are crystalline beings whose destroyed body parts grow back like crystals in a petri dish. The Swamp of Sorrows emits poisonous gases which cause travellers to hallucinate and relive their own past indiscretions. The planet will be as wild as a writer's imagination. Nothing is too far-fetched if it comes organically from a world where evolution has pushed out in bizarre new directions. Alien beings on Mer are vested with similar creative twists. Terron is a powerful ecomancer who sprouts roots from his body in order to replenish himself from a portable supply of native soil when he is away from his homeland. Roulette is a graph too, a living tattoo that subsists off the body of whoever it is attached to. Alamar is a dragon-type monster who breathes fire, but we know he was King Primus's spiritual advisor. The Imbibers are a group of specially trained children who drink dark water. They become all-knowing for a short span of time and then turn to stone to take a place of honor in their tribe's sanctuary. The Atani are a tribe of albino island dwellers who protect themselves from having to go out into the sunlight by living in a labyrinthian world. The Lurinese are a people who live in a network of cocoon-like dwellings suspended from mile-high cliffs. The Doolies are funny little servant-like creatures who can bend, stretch and mutate into any of a dozen forms to be used by their masters as doormats, chairs, serving tables and so on. The role-playing game largely restates and expands upon the details in the setting Bible, but has a dubious state as to whether it is canonical or not. As a game, it defines characters, including those from the series, via strength, dexterity, intellect, health, magic resistance, low magic, high magic, wounds, attack value, initiative, and movement. Movement is rated in old D&D terms, with the standard amount being 120 feet. Characters are created by distributing points, with the limitations on those statistics being set by the various races, such as humans, Kree, Skon, and Antari, not all of whom are detailed in the original series Bible. Kree are forest dwellers with sharp teeth and pointed ears, who live at one with nature in small family groups. Skon are Mongol-like dwarves who live a nomadic underground life. Antari are tall, thin, albino humanoids who vie with the Skon over underground domains, which the Antari are considered by the Skon to deface with their carvings and their permanent construction of cities. Antari also competently sail the underground rivers and seas with some expertise. Comparative statistics are found for all the main characters from the series, many of which seem to violate the rules as they are already laid out, or to invoke options that are not explicitly provided in the rules. The game doesn't actually contain any character creation rules, any means of gaining experience, or many of the other things that a complete game would actually need. This leaves the game's master largely to their own devices in trying to convert the material to some other fantasy RPG, hence the use of D&D-like language and terms. This is likely why the game is so relatively obscure, unknown, and hard to find, having come out years after the series had ended and not slotting neatly into any other game, nor truly being its own game. For those interested in going beyond the setting Bible, or setting a game within the world of Mare, you will find over 100 pages of Merian monsters and creatures within the pages of the booklet, and in the book itself, the World Book, useful and expanded information about the various lands of Mare, and even a short treasure quest should characters seek such a thing. It's just a shame that this was not a fully featured game, or tied to a proper system. Darkwater remains an interesting world, highly developed for a children's series, strange for a children's series, one that continues to spark the imaginations of those who saw it as children. Clearly, it has had its influences on other game worlds, story worlds, and so on since, and it stands as a fine example of world building. It's just a pity that the series never got to finish its epic storyline, and never truly got the support that it was worth.